Welcome back, everybody. It's Friday, and if you've been around here before, you know what Friday means. It's the state of the canyon. It's the how are things going. And I've come to the conclusion that things are going okay. I am making the umpteenth bucket of the Canyon Blend, which is, of course, how we make cheap, fake, non-load bearing concrete. And that would be, and here's the formula so you can never recreate this at home: 1 part of the creamy beige, which is basically just sand and clay. It's what we scrape off the top of out here. This stuff. If you brush the top off, it's very clayey. And the clayiness is kind of indicated by the fact that you notice there's nothing growing. Usually we have a bit of a weed dieback in the summer, but this year there's literally just nothing. So the first thing we do is we take our 1 part creamy beige and we mix that with what we hope is 2 parts of water. It's a little dusty. We mix our 2 parts water. I think it's a little overwatered, so this is going to be a big bucket. It happens. It doesn't take a lot of mixing because there's way too much water. That is probably enough, seeing as a lot more ingredients have to go in. What this basically is 1 part of the creamy beige, 1 part Portland, and my parts are divvied up in one of 2 ways. I have the little screw bins, which are, I think, half a gallon, 2 quart. This is a 2-gallon bucket. Usually takes about 12 scoops from the old garden scoop here. That's close enough. It's more art than science, really. Mix that in there. And this is the sticky bit. Very enthralling, right? But I assume that there are others out there that I've stated in the past that one of my favorite things is watching other people work. So that's looking a little thin. There should be a little bit of it should have a little more of like a honey-like texture to it. This is just watery. So I'm gonna have to top that off. And I'll show that for a moment how I do that as well. It's all just, if I can feel the little thick chunks down at the bottom. That's mixing decently well. It's getting a little more viscosity to it, a little more drag. I think it's still a little thin. And once we're there, we get the bucket, and then it's 4 parts decomposed granite, 4 buckets of this. And I usually go 2 and 2. 2 buckets of this. Try to blend it in as well as possible. Go 2 more. Yeah, it's really watery. So the other 2 are going to go in really easy. Let's see, if I go into the 2-gallon bucket, this is saving and creating labor for myself, because this is going to make
This is going to make a full bucket. We'll be up and be as close as possible to the 6 cubic feet here. And then 2 more buckets and we'll see how thick that looks. As anticipated, I felt like I had too much water in to begin. So for the application that this bucket is going towards, this is too thin. If I was filling an obstacle where I want run down, this isn't too bad. It's a little thin, but as I mentioned a moment ago, it's about 12 scoops to fill a bucket. That's no problem. We're on a 5-to-1 ratio. So this is 2 scoops of Portland and 10 scoops of DG. So that's how we try to thicken it up, and we'll see if 1 bucket is enough. I had one that I overwatered yesterday, and it ended up needing 3 more buckets, and it was basically up, it was up there. Just makes it tough to move. Also, as it gets thicker, the buckets that drop in just want to sit on the top. And yes, I have considered a one of those electric 1-sacker cement mixers, which would make this significantly easier. It would probably increase my mix productivity by about 400%. But with the way things are today, I could get another rig for the cost of the cement mixer. I spent several months convincing myself to buy the wheelbarrow, and it's great. I mean, we use the little red guy here, this guy. He's pointless. That was a buddy of mine. He's like, yeah, I got a wheelbarrow I've never even used. It's yours if you want it. And I'm like, sweet. Because in my head, all wheelbarrows are this. And then I got that little thing, which, this is no offense, and I'm not attempting to be sexist, but that's a lady's garden wheelbarrow is what that is. You barely have to bend to pick it up. It's super easy to tip forward. It came with a pneumatic tire, and the tire was flat as all get out when I got it, so I had to buy a solid tire for it, and it uses a tiny tire. I think there's a 16-inch tire on this, and that thing runs like I think it's a 14. It's just tiny. And there, we're a little running, but it'll hold an edge. So for what we're working on, that'll do. Because where we're headed is right here. We're kind of making grout. This is like big grout for the world's worst floor tiles. Tool-wise, all we need is the hose, scooper bucket, and our friend, the tiny Libman hand broom. Oh, and of course, all that stuff we just mixed. Oh, another forgotten component. I need a bucket of water. Because even with this small of a quantity of Portland, it gloops and thickens up so fast that this little Libman brush, which has some kind of split bristles, it really, like, you can never get all the concrete out of it. That's basically, this guy just does concrete now. So now we play in the mud and we enjoy whatever breeze that is provided to us. We just fill it in. Move it around, tamp it down. And the beauty is, this is your grout gets to be a more natural brown because a lot of it is effectively dirt. And as I said, it is non-structural, but at the same time, it's kind of structural. Well, let's see. I do some of this each day until the job is done. So let's see what it looks like as the days go by. This is one day. This was put down about 24 hours ago. Complete with some cat prints. I have very little pullback at the edges, which is good. It's kind of what we're looking for. This was all yesterday, all this stuff right here. Little crack I hear. I probably got a little too thin, but it doesn't really matter. There are some high spots in the air quotes here tiles, but some of the high ones, like that guy right there, I've ordered some cheap diamond wheels for the grinder to take off like that little toe catchers. There's one kind of right, if I can point it out, right there. Man, do I kick that guy, because he's half an inch higher than everything around him. But as we get out to here, it starts to get a little lighter. This is 2 days old right here. And it will continue to bring a little bit of the DG up to the surface. It's a little loose. Here's, I was sampling it along here. There's where the LCG guy drove through it before it was cured. So he left some permanent, he got to leave some prints. I'll try to find where the squirrel prints are. But all this right here is still being built up and across. And I figure what I'm gonna do for here on Dry Bone Valley to get it to stay in place is I'm gonna do the mortar mix over top with the rocks in it to get this really, really set in. It's just, it doesn't strike me as steep enough right now. It's kind of getting placed a little bit at a time. I don't want to mess with Daphne's line, you know, I don't want to cover that up. But this, I want to build up more. This is going to get built up more. And as I have been doing much sorting, I have all different grade of rock, all the way from like 3/8 inch aggregate, 3/4, 1 inch, up to these river stones, up to big full, big boys like this. So I'll give you a look at what the quote, what I'm calling the plant, what the plant looks like. As soon as I get the rest of this stuff spread out so it doesn't harden up. So as I completely forgot what I was talking about when I last turned this off, let's talk about the economy of scale, because I have to do a lot of this. Just this right here, well, let's look, that's a lot of rocks. Let's look quickly at where I have to remember not to step for the next 24 hours at least. Right here. So you can see where the mud starts. Here, goes to there. That was 2 wheelbarrows full. I had to mix a second one to build out the taper out there. So I would realistically call that between 9 and 10 cubic feet. A single bag, 90-pound sack of Quikrete is about 1 cubic foot, between 7/8 of a cubic foot and 1 cubic foot. So to do this was honestly, I got through 1 bag. I can do 4 huge wheelbarrows full of the DG Crete out of 1 sack of Portland. So that means that 5 cubic feet costs me about 50 cents because I don't have to buy the DG. It just shows up. So to do this right here cost me half a bag of concrete. So this is like, well, less than that. Let's call this $2 plus, you know, the time spent doing it. Meanwhile, a 90-pound sack of Quikrete, and there's still a big pile of them over there. A 90-pound sack of Quikrete is like $5.50. So it's about 1/10 the cost to do the in-house DG blend.
Now, would I try to build a house out of it? Well, no, but I've got, it kind of blends in with the background, but that is, each one of those cones is about 6 full wheelbarrows full of DG, plus this is 10 to 12 wheelbarrows. So I probably won't actually even have enough Portland. I have 5.5 sacks left, so I can get about 25 wheelbarrows out, but that should be more than enough to get me through what I need to do, because in a pinch, you don't need to mix it with Portland. The Portland just makes it a bit more permanent. There's been quite a bit of work done here. All the scrap. Oh, I would be remiss. This is all that's left. Remember how big that was? The front edge of it was right there, and it went all the way around like this. I've used that whole thing because I took all the red ones of a certain thickness and made that patio out of it. So this is just DG and water poured in as gap filler. The only drawback is that it kind of gravels out, right? But once you knock that gravel off the surface, it's hard. It's not concrete hard, but it's very hard, which is why people use this. There's nothing here on Oblivion except decomposed granite poured on top, and nothing moves. So it kind of adds a little challenge to it, and I think it gives it a very natural look. I'm not mad about the look at all. And a lot of that DG that's over there in those piles has to go all the way across here, but none of that is done being placed yet. It's gonna be a side hilling nightmare when that's done. So now the plan for through here is not to continue the big blocks, because it does raise everything up about 5 inches, because I only dug it out in a couple spots. I want to get some more of the big boys that are too big. Those guys over there that are too big to be used for anything else. Gonna line them all up along here and just do kind of like, if you can look up videos on polished soil. I'm gonna try to use the DG water Portland mix to fill all this dirt out all the way along the edge of the pond, all the way over to here, to remove basically all of the dirt transition. So all the way up through here will basically look like what does look like right here. But the beauty of it is I don't need to get it super smooth. I mean, that's smooth enough. I kind of wanted to do this as a test to see when you get it real thin here at the edge, how strong is it? And it honestly, it feels like concrete. So that is the plan. Once I get the rest of the rock sorted and this moved up, it's almost here up to the height that I want it. Now that I look at it, I think I'm gonna continue just rock up over the top of this down and cover the massive hole that squirrels like to run out of. Because as I said, under this grate, it's just hollow. So fill this out with rocks that I deem suitable. Because now, along with the unfinished piles over here, over here, I've got more concrete that hasn't been moved. I've got some chunks of curbing, which I intend to move once someone can use one of those vehicles over there to move them a little closer. And more soil, clay-rich soil with just, I mean, look at the rock content in here. So I've been picking through this very gradually, and then in that one, there are like 4 foot by 4 foot slabs. So I'm gonna see if next time he has some free time, if he can't scoop up a couple in the bucket and bring me some big ones along with, like, I can't move that rock. That rock's 500 plus pounds. Like, even these, like that right there is probably close to 300. About that size right there, those two right there are about the biggest I can move by myself, and I gotta move them one at a time with a furniture dolly. So that's where we're at as of this week. DG, fill stuff, and slump block. We've got 3/4 aggregate. We've got, this is sorted native soil. We've got rock, we've got more DG, we've got the concrete pieces, which I think most are gonna end up getting broken up, because the stuff that remained, like look at the thickness of that guy right there. That's and that guy up on the edge. We're talking 5.5 inches thick. This is called getting paid by the job, because this all came from one place, and like that piece and that piece came out of the same slab. That's not even 3 inches thick, that's almost 6 inches thick. So when you're trying to make a floor out of reused materials, it gets a little iffy because none of it is the same thickness. I mean, I can't complain too much. It's all free, and rocks follow the same philosophy of no two are the same size. So I got to pick through those, and I'm definitely getting to where we're starting to get some big boys. That's a big boy right there. So I'm still reminding myself, don't walk through there. I almost stepped in it already. This just, I feel like there's a more finished thing about it, and I like you know, I've said this before, but I really like the chopped up, broken nature of it. This is going to clean up a little better. I neglected to deck brush it soon enough, so they got a bit chalky on the top. I've been doing better over here, but it's coming out okay. And as every weekly update ends with some driving, we'll just take you face first into the mess here. Let's take a look at how this guy changed between yesterday, the video of yesterday, and the video of today. I just had to remove the old working shades because they are polarized, and looking at things like unpainted Lexington, it was like an oil slick. So, what has changed since Volume 5, Episode 5? Lovely channel viewer, subscriber, commenter, all around fantastic human being, Durden, Tyler, sent the Canyon yet another box of parts he's apparently not using, and inexplicably in there was a Castle Slate 1406, this in the 2280 kV flavor, which is one I do not have. Well, I have now, but I did not have. And that got me, this was a number of hours in the making. This speed control right here, if you can't make it out, there's a little Castle Snake on there. That is a Mamba Max Pro. The little decal on the bottom of the circuit board states that it was manufactured in September of 2011. So this is a little something old and a little something new. Because he's a bit of a chunky fellow compared to what was in here before, a new plate to facilitate his mounting, he had to be completely taken apart. All of his wires were shredded, so he had to get a new signal wire. I tried my best with my ancient Hako 936 to desolder the pads to put a lead on, and it was just not happening. I'm not 100% sure what they use in those factories, but my soldering iron does not get hot enough to melt the solder on those boards. So I ended up just cutting it, putting on an extension, putting an extension on these. The housings were all shredded. I would genuinely prefer that if this was like the new style where it just has bullets coming out, and then I could just plug the motor straight in. But once again, those pads are crazy. So I am thinking about just cutting these down, pulling it apart again, or maybe just soldering the bullets up right here so I can just plug them straight in. So it's like an ancient copperhead. So now he is on 4-pole brushless power. He's still running the direct power flash hobby servo, which is working out great. He's still running white springs in the rear, but he has gone to the element blues in the front. A little clearance cut was made right there, so it full compression that doesn't hit the rail. His servo horn was changed again because there was a little bit of an interference issue with the panhard bar at full compression this way. So now he should have about the same flex both ways. Cheap Amazon brass diff cover for the front. Just because the plastic one, because he was sitting so low, the plastic one was really taking a beating. Yeah, I mentioned the springs. Moved the rear shocks to a lower mount position to try to kind of firm up the rear. That's why I didn't have to change the rate.
These shocks did move forward one hole when going up the rate. Everything feels a little better. Gearing had to be changed again when going to the 2280. So I believe yesterday he was on 1884 and he is now back to 1587. And it feels okay. I tried a 14, but the mesh just didn't sound good. It's a little snarly as is. And I need to remake the extension lead because I didn't know the battery was gonna move to that position. So the lead was made for the battery being where the battery was, and now the battery is where the battery is. Body still fits just fine with the battery in that position. And what I have noticed is that the front end is a puzzle box where I can't really move anything. The servo horn needs to be a little higher because at full compression the panhard bar hits it. But if you go any shorter, it moves this in, and then they strike at this end. So I managed to, I don't know how, but I managed to cobble that front end together out of whatever parts I had, and it just fits. Look at that knuckle. So if I tried to space that panhard out anywhere in the front, I'm going to lose steering throw. And right now I should still have... that endpoint needs adjustment. It's not supposed to go like he's winking at you. I think it has too much throw in both directions, but I don't think it's binding. No, it seems okay. Yeah, see, as I mentioned, a little growly. I don't know why. Raise the ride height through a combination of the springs and preload. He is now on, in the front, the dual stage made out of the Boom Racing inner and the Pitbull super light outers. And the rears are dual stage as well, and they are slightly firmer. They have an open cell inner of unknown origin and an open cell outer also of unknown origin, which all the way around is slightly firmer than what's in the front. So generally when it's sitting, you can see the kind of amount of bag on the side here, little bit less in the rear. So the rear is a little firmer all around. Someone in the comments had suggested softer in the front, firmer in the rear, and we are in the midst of that experiment. So let us take that experiment to where the rocks are. It sounds so weird. Honestly, I shouldn't even be mixing buckets today. I have moved rock or concrete or mixed buckets every day this week. And my back really, honestly hates me. So remember the difficulties rigs had getting through here. Try a different angle here. Yeah, okay, that's definitely pushed. That's pushed too far wide. 2280 is a little hot compared to the 16 turn 5 slot that was in there. The added ride height definitely seems to be making a difference. This is not the smoothest terrain. His gear noise is so weird. I gotta say, it seems pretty good. It seems pretty okay. Let's just head out on the side hill and see if we've ruined it. Because mushy mushies, they certainly help on ascending. Oh, look at that front guy folding. Yeah, that's about what I expected. So there's a fair chance this chassis is revision 1, that it will end up just being redone just
for the purpose of mounting a different skid. As the Capra skid, while it's flat bottom, is no longer necessary. I'm using a Vader 3-bolt adapter, and what I hoped wouldn't happen has already happened. One of the holes stripped out. So the transmission is currently being held in place with 2 screws. Yeah, he's not gonna make this. Yeah, it's like you can't, obviously, you can't make a setup that's perfect for everything. Oh, did not think I was getting out of that. So this thing will climb, and he's quite wide, and he's very low. But yeah, there's just, I mean, it's really only at the extreme. Oh, hello. Right there. Oh, that front. Look at this. Mushy, 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 mushy. And when that high side tire gets up there, that's a pretty good hold, but he would hold it stronger before. Yes, the 11-year-old Mamba Max is surprisingly good, seeing as it was effectively designed and marketed at a time when rock crawlers weren't really a consideration. Guys were building them out of, you know, old like clodbusters and stuff. But my history with rock crawlers goes back 2 years, so. Yeah, like it's better, but it's still somewhere in the middle. So while I would say the net sum of changes is positive, I don't think we're there yet. That was nice, but it's gonna push way too far. Right, like he seeks out that spot on that rock. There's a right there. I'm putting the tire right there. There's a little knob on that rock that when honestly, when I get the the diamond wheels for the grinder, I think I'm just gonna take that off, because everybody gets hung on that little piece right there, and it really kills the entry line. This is where, yeah, I mentioned in a comment that it's like it's trying to climb rocks in a Porsche 911, because he's going, and then all of a sudden he does a backflip. Like, if I give that any more sauce, he's going over backwards. I still, honestly, I think this is Daphne's other line, because it is. I don't think anyone does this as consistently as she does. Oh, that's a good spot. Everything he's doing right now, he has not done before, because this motor combo has not been, this is the rock test for this. And as I said, it's not the absolute smoothest. I think I pulled it out and started putting it back together in the hopes of connecting an outrunner to it. That was an experiment that did not go well. I had to desolder those little bullets off of it. So I think that's what happened to them. Oh, come on! Oh. Don't you slide! Don't you slide! I'm still learning to drive it. I'm still learning to drive them all, but I'm really still learning to drive this one, because I keep making changes, not just setup changes, but changes all around that are substantial. And never one change at a time. We would never. Uh-oh. There he went. So in closing, I desperately wish, I have a Kimbrough 90 tooth. I desperately wish that a Kimbrough 90 would fit on here, but it does not. An 87 is as big as it will go, because the 1590 would make me irrationally happy. And as has been, I think, shown, the only constant in the canyon is change. We're forever working and reworking. As long as the material keeps coming, the place will either keep getting bigger or getting more changes. Can you pull this still? It's moments like that that I'm like, don't touch it. Don't mess with it. Don't move springs. Don't do nothing. Because he's got his issues. Side hilling could be better, but you know, some stuff could be better. But his pure vertical is nonsense. I think the castle is set to 237% drag brake. I don't know what that means. That's not how percentages work. Ooh. Sidle. Yeah, a good amount of. I can send out Morse code. Yeah, that's just, I mean, that motor is probably 10 years younger than that speed control. He's really good. And I feel like he's only going to get better. Oh. So there are, oh, that tire was hung up. Come on. There we go. A little hop. Yeah, the bumpability of the 2280 is, and as with any Castle motor, the bumpability is fantastic. He really lacked that on the 5 slot, and maybe that's what I'm not 100% sold on 5 slots about. I guess the feel, the smoothness, they give up punchiness. Well, I mean, that sounds kind of obvious now that I said it out loud. But he is definitely improving, and we are gonna, I feel like 237% drag brake actually is a thing. Because that little settle, watch, I'll give him a little up right here, and then he'll like roll back like a 1/4 of an inch. I've definitely mentioned this before, I'm certain of it. That's the Dig gearbox. Because the rear, because it has those little locking dogs in the middle, there's that little bit of slop. So the rear end can roll that little flip, and then once it catches, now the system is bound back up. So this is a little bit of the trade that you make to get Dig. I think it's also, it's not ironic, it's just humorous to me that I made a video called Would I Trade Overdrive for Dig, and I put a QT gearbox in Lil Yellow when he was born an Ecto. And now I've made another thing with an Ecto that has Dig in it, so I guess I just love Dig. So now, as we wrap this up, we're gonna just leave this guy up there, and it catches. I think he does indeed have 237% drag brake. So as we close the book on this, to anyone who's watched the wild card round, it basically started over there and went all the way across to over there. And that was even to me, that was a surprise victory there. Ironsides ever surprising. Luckily, Ironsides is not entering in another, he is not in the next round. You know, he won, so he doesn't have to go to the elimination round. I was gonna say on the way, oh, look at the pretty flowers. On the way is another Hobbywing 1080. I'm not dealing with that ESC 70 anymore. I'm just not. So he's going to a venerable Hobbywing. I'm genuinely, I don't want to mess with it. I don't want to mess with his motor. I was going to say I was considering putting in the whole combo that just came out of the Snake. Just call him the Snake for today. That came out of the Snake, but that 35 turn I think might be the perfect TRX4 two-speed motor. Like, it's so good. So now what I have to figure out, because there's only 2 videos remaining for the month of July, and one of them should be the elimination round, but we have quite a few obstacles under construction. Like I can't use this area because I can't drive through there. The filming for that will hopefully be tomorrow. So what do y'all think? I'll give this opportunity. What do you all think? I'll try to get this uploaded a couple hours early. I know that doesn't mean anything to you. You'll be watching it when you're watching it. Where should the elimination round take place? Like, nothing has popped into my head as to where to send these guys. I don't want to just run the same thing. Well, I mean, I can't. That might be firmed up enough by tomorrow. I don't know. So where am I going to run these guys for the elimination run? We do have access to all that stuff over there, but I don't know. I do not know, because I got to run 4 guys, and this time it's limited to 6 gates or events. Like if it's just a skills challenge, like side hill ability, who can go the longest on said side hill without falling off, etc. I'm probably okay with that. I think Drybone Valley is pretty much off limits. It's just like, if you set a rift loose on this, there's just going to be rocks everywhere. So I really don't know, other than, you know, sending them here or Oblivion. I got to figure something out. 2 videos to go, and honestly, with an upload a day, I'm running out of ideas, everybody. I'm running out of ideas, and I'm, you know, physically destroyed. So if you have any ideas for the elimination round, by all means shout them out, and every idea will be considered. So I guess I gotta get this part cleaned up. I don't think I'm gonna do any more buckets. I don't want to move any rocks. I tell you what, I don't want to do anything. I just want to glide into the weekend knowing that I have to film another elimination round, and the 4 competitor rounds generally take about 2.5 hours to film. It's pretty great. Luckily, the heat has been coming on late. It's already about 10 a.m. and it's still only 80 degrees, which is awfully nice. So that's that. That is the state of the canyon. The state of the canyon is that it is in flux. Look at all those rocks. No normal person does this. So give me some ideas, everybody. Help me help you. And that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. Tune in for the next one, particularly if you give me a suggestion for you. I mean, that's like a contract. You have to watch it at that point. As per usual. Have a good weekend, everybody.